What's up, y'all? It's Alexiana. Welcome to the Lexi Show. Now, if you've been following me for a while, like if you went to high school with me and stuff like that, y'all know like I wasn't out in high school. Like I wasn't necessarily closeted and stuff like that, but I wasn't out in high school and stuff like that. But people still off and on had made fun of me for being gay and stuff like that. Mostly guys and on occasion some girls. And in this particular video, I'm gonna touch on some homophobic girls that had some shit to say to me. I'm gonna tell y'all 3 encounters, so let's get into it. One of which was a stud herself, which was a girl that was a part of the LGBTQ community herself, but she was a whole stud, but she still made fun of me for being gay. So let's get into it. It's pretty much a case of the pot called the kettle black, pretty much. So let's get into it. Okay, the first one. We're gonna call her Melanesia because she was a beautiful, tall, slim, thick, melanated queen. I had a crush on her in the 9th grade, but whatever. We're gonna call her Melanesia because she was a beautiful, melanated queen. Let me describe her. Again, like I said, this was way before I came out of the closet and stuff. So yeah, but I had a crush on her. So let me describe her. She was tall, slim, thick. She had kind of like a baby face, dark skin, like Shada was all that. Let me say that. Shada was all that. Like she was so fine. And I remember, this was 9th grade, this was freshman year. I remember we were in math class and stuff like that. And I decided to step to her and stuff like that and ask her for her phone number. So I was like, hey Melanesia, can I have your phone number? And yeah, like she gave her phone number. So I thought. So we're going to fast forward to the end of the day. So I went home. I remember she wrote her number down on a sheet of paper and gave it to me. And I remember I had programmed in my phone and stuff like that. This back in the day when, you know, me and my sister had our flip phones and stuff like that. And I remember, you know, I programmed it in my phone and stuff like that. And I remember I went home. I went home. I got the phone. I programmed the number in my phone. And I remember I called it. Was it Melanesia's voice on the end of the phone? No, it was somebody else's voice. The girl was like, hello? And obviously it wasn't Melanesia. She was like, hello? And I was like, who is this? And she was like, who is this? I was like, this isn't Melanesia, is it? And she was like, no. I was like, oh, okay. And I hung up the phone. And I think to myself, this bitch gave me a fake number. I ain't gonna tell who that was. Up to this day, I'm convinced, like, you know, maybe it probably was one of her friends or her cousin or whatever. Like, who's to say, like, after she wrote her number down and gave it to me and stuff like that, who's to say, like, she walked out of class, found her friend or her cousin or whatever and told her that she had gave me her number. Like, who's to say? I mean, you could have simply said no, I would have understood, but, you know, it is what it is. I remember all throughout freshman year, me and her were cool until sophomore year is when everything changed. So we're going to fast forward to sophomore year. I remember, you know, I'd be walking in the hallway, I'd throw my hand up and wave at her, and she'll just glare at me like, and then just walk off. And I'm thinking to myself, the first time I'm thinking, okay, maybe she has a lot on her mind, I'm just going to just leave her alone. And I remember another occasion like it happened. I remember I threw my hand up and waved at her, and she just glared at me again like, I think to myself, well, damn, what the fuck did I do to her? Like, you acting like I cheated on you, got another bitch pregnant or something. Like, what the fuck? Like, girl, like, I was always nice to you, like, the fuck? But anyways, like, I remember, you know, this is pretty much a case of following the crowd. You know how it goes in high school. Like, you click up with those kids that don't like another person and, you know, all of a sudden they have a problem with you. They don't even know you like that and have a problem with you, but, you know, they have a problem with you because another person does. That sort of thing, you know. But, yeah, she used to do petty stuff like that. And I remember there's this one time, I remember we were in math class together, and my 10th grade math teacher, so she was such a doll. Those kids used to give her pure hell, but she was such a doll. To me, she was such a doll. And I remember I had to sit in front of the class because, you know, we were copying stuff from the board, and I was sat up there to copy stuff from the board, and there's this girl, like, she was sitting, like, right kind of a few rows behind me and stuff like that. She had said something that was funny, and I had turned around, you know, to acknowledge her and stuff like that. And Melanisha, she was sitting right beside me, so she had her head on her desk because, you know, she was sleeping and stuff. Couldn't find out she was pregnant. But yeah, and by the way, she looked cute pregnant anyways. I ended up seeing her little belly bump and stuff like that, like later on down in the school year, but whatever. I remember she was sitting next to me, she was asleep in class, and I turned around to acknowledge the other girl, and Melanisha, she snapped at me. She was like, "Boy, don't come up here with all that talking." I'm thinking to myself, bitch, take your damn nap and leave me the fuck alone. Like, I didn't say that, but I was thinking that. And there's this other girl that chimed in. She was like, "He's too nice." And then Melanisha, she was like, "Yeah, I know. I don't like really nice people." Okay, well, whatever. Like, that's you. Like, I don't give a damn. It's like, and the whole time after she said that and stuff, thinking to myself, girl, I've never done anything to you. Me and you have never had I've never done anything to you. Me and you have never had any altercations, so, like, where's this come from other than the fact you're following the crowd? So, yeah. And there's this one time, again, this is about Melanisha. I remember, like, you know, there was a bomb threat. Like, this is sophomore year. I remember there was a bomb threat. And I remember where my high school was, when there was a bomb threat and stuff like that, everybody, you know, from 9th to 12th grade, they'll all walk together and stuff like that. They'll all walk together in a big crowd and stuff like that, and we'll all walk together and stuff up to the elementary school. And I remember we all had walked together up to the elementary school and stuff like that. And I remember I was still in my math class and stuff, and I remember my math class and stuff, I remember we had went to the cafeteria. Well, we had ate lunch in the cafeteria eventually, but I remember we had went to the library. We had went to the library and stuff like that, and we all had sat around in the area as a class and stuff like that. And, you know, I remember I was just, you know, sitting by myself and stuff like that. And I remember some girls, they walked by me, you know, and they sat in a little area a few inches beside me and stuff like that. And did you know that this heifer Melanisha and stuff like that, you think she would have walked straight on with her friends and stuff. You know this heifer, she shook her ass in my face, and then she had went on and sat with her friends. It's like, and she did damn so like pop, lock, and drop it. Let me show y'all what she did. Okay, say this is me, and Melanisha is walking this way. She just did some stupid shit like this. Like, girl, that wasn't nothing. Like, you could have popped, lock, and drop it or some shit, or lift your dress up and showed your ass or some shit. That would have been impressive. But girl, what you did, that wasn't shit. Like, girl, bye. Like, what was the point in that? And yeah, that's pretty much just about it for Melanisha. Like, really didn't have no reason to dislike me other than the fact of, you know, following the crowd, clicking up with a group of friends that don't like me, and just, yeah, that sort of thing. No disrespect to her now. I'm pretty sure she's a sweet, sweetheart now, but whatever. I'm just, you know, telling the story we like from the past and stuff. So, yeah, that's just about it for Melanisha. By the way, like I said, she looked very cute pregnant. I remember seeing her little baby bump. She looked very cute pregnant. And after that, you know, me and her were kind of cordial with each other. She left me alone, all that stuff. So, let's move on to story number 2. Story number 2 revolves around a girl that was a stud. Well, she's not a stud now, but she was a stud in high school. This revolves around a girl that's a stud, but she made fun of me for being gay, which that's the case of the pot calling the kettle black, honey, because you're a part of the community too. You're a whole girl that dressed like a guy, talks like the guys, walks like the guys, acts like the guys. You eat coochie, and you're probably being gay. Yeah. Make it make sense to stir. Anyways, we're going to call her Raynell. And her nickname, we're going to say is Twix. So, her name, we're going to say is Raynell, and her nickname, we're going to call it Twix. So, me and Raynell, I remember a long while back, I remember we had like a little, not an exchange of words, but I remember I kind of, sort of, you know, got into it with her on Facebook a long while back. I remember this was in 8th grade, and there's this girl in my class and stuff like that. I remember, I think I told you this story and stuff like that. You rewind a couple of story times back when I told y'all about my internet drama and stuff like that I counted over the years, that video. I remember I was on Facebook, I was in 8th grade. This is around the time I first got Facebook, and there's this girl in my class. I remember I was friends with her on Facebook, and she just posted like a cute little selfie, you know, her in front of a mirror, taking a picture. She had on a pink shirt, she had a glass on, her hair was tied back, all that stuff. And I had simply commented, I like your pink shirt. That's all I said. And here come Raynell ass replying under what I said. She was like, LOL, I knew he was gay, like with gay, G-A-Y, in big bold letters, like, okay, like, big whoop. And I was going to respond in that moment. I was like, no, I've never met this girl before in my life. I'm not going to entertain it. Like, it is what it is. So, yeah. And I remember the girl whose picture I commented under it, she had replied to what Raynell had said. She was like, Twix, LOL. Like, okay, it is what it is. That was the only encounter that I had with Raynell. So, we're going to fast forward to junior year. And I think she was either a freshman or a sophomore, whatever. I remember this day, I remember my home ec teacher, she was out. She was out of school and whatnot. And I think we had a substitute teacher. My sister knows her. We're going to call the substitute, my sister knows her. She had her as a teacher and stuff like that in high school. We're going to call her Mrs. Petrillo. God rest her soul. Like, God rest her soul. We're going to call her Mrs. Petrillo. Because she kind of favors, you know, Sophia from the Golden Girls. But, yeah. I remember Mrs. Petrillo, she was subbing for my home ec class. And I remember we had to go to the cafeteria. We had to go to the library for something. We were doing something that involved, like, food from different countries and stuff like that. And, yeah, we had to, you know, do something like that, involve food from different countries. And I remember the country that I had was Japan. And I remember, you know, everybody was doing their work. And I remember Raynell, she didn't have like a country to do her project on and stuff like that. And I remember Mrs. Petrillo, she had said, oh, well, you can do your project on Japan and stuff. And I immediately chimed in. I was like, oh, Miss Petrillo, I'm doing mine on Japan. And then Raynell turned around and looked at me. She was like, man, shut up, faggot ass. But you're a whole stud that eats coochie. Make it make sense. It wouldn't be anything, let's be for real, honey. So, yeah. And I remember, you know, I was just, you know, la-da-da-da-da, just doing my work, blah, 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 blah. And I remember, off and on, she just turned around and just be looking at me, and I just give her a look like, boo, what? Like, the fuck you looking at? Polly want a cracker? Like, the fuck? Like, I'm just looking at it like that. And then just, you know, just focus on the computer and stuff. And then she said again on her breath, she was like, faggot ass. But once again, you're a whole stud that eats coochie, that dresses and acts like the guys. So make it make sense, hunty. So, yeah. And there's this one time, so like that, I don't know why I did this, but she had pissed me off about something, and I called her a bitch. Like, this is when my home ec teacher, the real home ec teacher, she was there. And I remember I had called her a bitch and stuff like that. When I tell you she went off, hunty. By the way, she was dressed real cute that day, by the way. But she had went off on me. She was like, you gay, you a faggot, this, that, and the third. But you're a whole stud that eats coochie, my dear. So don't call the kettle black, hunty. And I fucked her man. I'm lying. No, I didn't. No, I did not. I'm just saying that. But yeah. Or am I? I'm lying. Bitch, you lying. Like, don't do that. You lying. But anyways, yeah. Yeah, she went all hunty. She said, you gay, you a faggot, this, that, and the third. And the teacher had to call her out in the hall, you know, to calm her down, this, that, and the third.
He's not lying.
Girl, bye. Y'all heard my sister, but whatever. But yeah, I'm just lying. I ain't fuck her man. I'm just saying that. And there's another incident with Raynell and stuff like that where I was late for class. The bell had rung. I think my bus had got there late one day and stuff, and I was late to my class, and I kind of was speed walking or kind of a little speed walking or running a little bit and stuff like that. And Raynell, she was with some of her friends and stuff like that, and she turned around, and she saw me, and she was like, look, look. She was motioning to her friend. She was like, look, 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 look. And then she had screamed when I got close. She was like, ah, like, bitch, what the fuck you screaming for? You act like I'm finna stab your ass or some shit. And, you know, I just ignored her because she's ignorant. And I called her bitch again under my breath, but she didn't hear me. She acted like she heard me. She was like, what you saying? Did you call me a bitch? Blah, 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 blah. And then there's an officer there. We always call him Officer Perry. Officer Perry, he just called me a bitch. He just called me a bitch. But, you know, he didn't pay it no mind. He just, you know, ignored them just like I did because, you know, they're ignorant. But whatever. And by the way, right now she was dressed real cute that day too. But Raynell and stuff like that, she's no longer a stud now. She's, you know, she likes guys now. But back then, you know, she was a stud, but whatever. Now, the third story. Once again, it's one of those things, you know, where, you know, people follow the crowd and all that kind of other stuff. It's one of those things, you know, where people follow the crowd and all that stuff. If we're going to rewind again back to freshman year, there's this girl who, we're going to say her name is... Hell no. We're going to say her name is Lucille. Shout out to Kingdom Come. I love that movie. We're going to call her Lucille. And, you know, to be fair, this girl really rarely talked to people, so I can kind of understand why she paid me dust. But, yeah, like, she was a very beautiful, slim, chocolate, melanated queen and stuff like that. Like, she had some long, black, jet black weave and stuff like that. And she was super skinny and stuff like that. She rarely talked, but whatever. She was okay, I guess. But, yeah. And I remember, like, there's this one time and stuff like that, you know, I wish she would have pulled me aside to ask me this. I really wish she would have pulled me aside to ask me this, but she asked me this in front of the whole class. She was like, hey, and she, you know, she was just giggling, laughing and stuff like that because, you know, she had her little friends around. She was like, hey, I want to ask you something, but I don't want you to get offended. And I'm like, okay, well, just spit it out. What you got to ask me? She asked, are you gay? And when I was in high school, like, if you went to high school, y'all know I denied it. I was lying through my fucking teeth. She asked, are you gay? And I was like, oh, no, I'm not gay. That's just a rumor, this, that, and the third. And, you know, she just left it alone and stuff like that. And there's this one time, stuff like that, like, I remember we were at lunch, and I remember I was sitting outside, like how the cafeteria, not the cafeteria, how the high school was set up. When it's lunchtime, you could either sit in the cafeteria or you can go outside. This day, particular day, I decided to sit outside. I remember I was eating my lunch and stuff like that, or either I was eating my lunch or I was reading or writing, or one or two, but one of the three, I mean. But I remember I was sitting down at a table at lunch and stuff like that, and I seen her come out of the building. And I think her eyes were blue that day, if I'm not mistaken. I think she had some contacts in, whatever. But I remember I seen her walk out of the building. And I decided, I shot out, I was like, hey, Lucille. And she was walking, and she looked out the side of her eyes at me for a long period of time, and then she just walked on. And I'm thinking, damn, what did I do to her? Like, shit, I thought we was cool. Like, once again, like, it's one of those cases where, you know, people follow the crowd. They don't have a real reason to dislike you. They just, you know, dislike you because of what people are saying about you or their friends and stuff like that. So, yeah, that's all that was. So, yeah, that's just about it for this video. Like, child, I can go on and 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 on again some more about the many cases of homophobia and stuff like that that I've endured over the years when I was in school, but we'll be here all day if I did that. So, unfortunately, you're just going to get those three, but Like always, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Like, I dealt with both of them, homophobic men and women. So even before I came out the closet, honey, I dealt with that shit pretty much my whole life. Like, even before I came out the closet, like, I know how to handle it like a champ. So, yeah. That's just about it for this video. Like always, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I'm going to start my social media handles over here as well as description box down below. So feel free to follow me on those. So until next time, peace.